What's up, everybody? It has been an amazing month for cycling in December. But before we get into the best month of cycling I've ever had in my life, let's talk about all of the years I've had combined on Strava since I first started using it. I started using Strava in June of 2012. That year, I was able to accomplish 2,452 miles with 30,000 feet of climbing, with a total of 104 rides, all mainly on a track bike, single speed, brakeless fixie, whatever you want to call it. Pretty good first start. In 2013, I was able to double those by riding 5,400 miles with 140,000 feet of climbing and a total of 246 rides. At this point, I was commuting to and from work, so that made the rides jump up a ton. 2014 was my biggest year ever. This is my first year I started racing. I totaled about 37 races, equaling 10,937 miles, 321,500 feet of climbing, with a total of 539 rides, racing, training, commuting, etc. What a year. It was definitely a big year. I was putting in some big weeks and semi-consistent throughout the whole year. In 2015, I had got my Cat 2 upgrade from the previous year. I went from a Cat 5 beginner to a Cat 3, and then in 2015, I got my Cat 2 upgrade, racing semi-consistently with a total of 6,700 miles, 257,000 feet of climbing, and a total of 267 rides. Rides went down by about half from the prior year. In 2016, I did 6,400 miles, not much less in miles, with 203,000 feet of climbing, still pretty low for a year, but I only totaled 166 rides that year. 2017 is when I started to get into gravel, when I first got my giant TCX Advance SX. I still have that bike to this day. 2017 was also the year that I went to Thailand and I cycled for a month in Chiang Mai for the Vegan Cycling Festival. I totaled 5,882 miles, 251,000 feet of climbing, and 170 rides, barely going up from the prior year by 4 rides. 2018, I did 4,774 miles on the bike with 197,000 feet of climbing and a total of 303 rides. Rides went up, more commutes, less big rides. 2019 was by far my lowest year as far as quality, and the miles were pretty low. Not the worst, but pretty close. Before I get into those, last year I also crashed 2 of the worst crashes on the mountain bike and the gravel bike, putting me out for 6 weeks and going into full-on marathon training, running the Boston Marathon in June. Still a semi-good year, but there was a lot more running. I think I ran about 700 miles. I only rode my bike about 3,200 miles with 102,000 feet of climbing at 179 rides. Not horrible, but way lower than I would expect of myself for a year of cycling. For 2020, I started out really low. From January to March, I had only put in 180 miles for 3 months. I was working 3 jobs, 6 days a week, only having Sundays off. I had no time for riding, no time for family. Quality of life was low, but on the financial side, I was doing all right. COVID-19 hit. That really made me recalibrate and analyze what my goals were in life and what made me the happiest. So I decided do more of the things that I love, family and fun. With that being said, for 2020, I did 8,027 miles, my second best year ever. In my eyes, my best year because of the quality of cycling. That was my main concern, was quality. Also, it was my highest amount of elevation ever in a year of cycling, which is not that much, but beyond the most for myself. 447,700 feet of elevation gain. Pretty rad. We had 2 Everesting attempts in there, and I got really close at 26,000 feet, but hey, maybe in the future. Super solid year. I got 239 rides for 2020. Every one of those rides was absolute quality riding. Absolute quality. I loved every single mile. With having my personal opinion best year ever in 2020, that also came with my best month ever, which was December, my birthday month. I decided that I was going to have the best quality of cycling in December, and I believe that the weather, as you can see from my vlogs, allowed me to do so. Week 1 of December, 349 miles. 300 of those miles were mountain bike trails. 40 miles were on the road. 19,000 feet of climbing, 26 hours and 22 minutes for week 1. Solid block of riding. Week 2, I was busy doing some video stuff and didn't get to ride as much, but it was also kind of good after doing such a big week. I got 8 hours and 59 minutes, 150 miles with 2,500 feet of climbing. Not horrible, it was solid. And that enabled me to come back with another banging week. Week 3, I did 372 miles, 13,500 feet of elevation gain, and a total of 20 hours and 48 minutes. Lots of more rides on the road that week. Week 4, my biggest week of cycling ever. Of volume, all around biggest week. I've done more miles in 7 days, but this was by far my biggest week. 508 miles, 15,869 feet of climbing, 32 hours and 34 minutes. Banging week. That's almost a full-time job. And going in to the end of December, early January, week 5, 372 miles, 21,207 feet of elevation gain at 25 hours and 20 minutes. What a month. For an overall total, 1,601.7 miles, most I've ever done in a month, 59,264 feet of elevation gain at 102 hours, 40 minutes, and 50 seconds. These rides were about listening to my body, not going hard every day. If you do a 5-hour ride at a low heart rate, my active recovery was better than ever. My biggest week of cycling, I was in the green every single day because I wasn't going full gas on those 5-hour rides. I could do 100 miles with an average of 100 heart rate with a friend and take them on their first century, and I wouldn't be straining my body. It was awesome. I learned a lot about myself, and I gained a lot of experiences for the end of 2020, you know. With COVID taking a lot of people's lives and putting a lot of people in a scared situation in the house, I decided to get out and be as healthy as I could be, and the best way I knew how to be. If you guys have any questions about any of my rides, let me know down below. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful new year.